Arcade1up's largest distribution partner has announced an exclusive agreement with Arcade1up. So let's get into it. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in and welcome to James Hates Everything. Today, we are talking about the press release from Alliance Entertainment, parent company of Cokem, Arcade1up's biggest partner. Here we have the press release, and I'm just going to kind of go through this really quickly. Many of you have probably already heard about this if you are a fan of Arcade1up or home arcade products at all. But there's some key bits of information I think that's worth sharing, and we'll talk about what this means not only for Arcade1up, but more importantly, what it means for home arcade fans. Alliance Entertainment Holding Corporation, a global distributor and wholesaler specializing in music, movies, video games, electronics, arcades, and collectibles, announced today an exclusive distribution agreement executed with Arcade1up for retail and website fulfillment of the complete line of arcade and gaming products in North America. So right out of the gate, we've got some questions, right? Spreetail, a division of Shop Hippo, was also a distributor of Arcade1up products. If you purchased an Arcade1up cabinet through Amazon over the last year or two, through eBay, and various other online marketplaces, chances are it came from Spreetail. They've had their own exclusives through that distribution. Things like Time Crisis, which started at Shop Hippo and then moved into Spreetail. Things like the Dynamo HS5, which was exclusively being sold through Spreetail. So now we're finding out here that Arcade1up has inked a deal with Alliance, that Alliance will be their only distributor for any Arcade1up product going forward. And of course, next up, it talks about Arcade1up's licenses, which include Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, yada, yada, yada. The Infinity Game Table. Says Alliance has been a significant distributor of Arcade1up since 2021. Cokem has been a distributor longer with Arcade1up, but Alliance acquired Cokem in 2021. So that's why it's worded this way. So it's important to understand is that Arcade1up has had a relationship with Cokem going back to, I believe, 2020. During Alliance's fiscal year ending in June 30, 2024, Arcade1up sales exceeded 74 million. It's important to remember that that is Alliance's sales, not Arcade1up. So we do also know from the ThinkUp lawsuit, which we've covered on the channel, you can check those videos out, that we estimate that Arcade1up did do 100 million in sales through calendar year 2023, based on the pace that they were going on the financial data that we have our hands on and share in a previous video. You could probably guesstimate Cokem is responsible for 50 to 60% of all Arcade1up sales, with Spreetail likely making up the rest. So it's a significant shift to say we're cutting out Spreetail and going exclusively with Cokem. We got some messages here from the CEO of Alliance, who says, we're excited to become the exclusive distributor for Arcade1up and to further grow sales and customer reach. For our fiscal year 2024, sales of Arcade1up products over 74 million. This is a significant line of business for Alliance, which we are committed to growing substantially. Jeff Walker, CEO of Alliance. We are focused on expanding our distribution of Arcade1up products to retailers and consumers. These are products that bring smiles and joy to consumers of all ages. Pac-Man, for example, is one of the most globally recognized brands and will continue to drive demand for years to come. Over the last 3 years, Alliance has developed robust in-store and online sales for Arcade1up products. Major retailers including Best Buy, Walmart, Amazon, Target, Kohl's, Wayfair, BJ's Wholesale Club, Nebraska Furniture Mart, Dell, QVC, HSN, Home Depot, PC Richard, and others have had success with Arcade1up products. Alliance has expanded the reach of Arcade1up products through its, and this is something we know they've done for a while, but I want to kind of emphasize it here. They've expanded the reach of Arcade1up products through its consumer direct fulfillment division to many of these major retailers. A robust assortment of Arcade1up products is stocked in the Alliance warehouse and shipped directly to our retail partners' consumers. This represents significant sales for these retailers with zero inventory risk. So, what do we know about Arcade1up products? Right, they're in these huge boxes. They take up a lot of floor space. We've seen retailers like Sam's Club have to blow these out because they have huge inventories that they're trying to get rid of. And so we've seen a more focus over the last year or two with Cokem's partners to do more sales through their website. So think purchasing through Target, through Kohl's. You go onto their website, you're not really going to walk in and find any three-quarter scaled cabs in those places. Now, you might find a countercade here and there around the holidays, things like that. But for the most part, you're not going to walk in and find these. You're just purchasing through their retail websites. Um, in Best Buy, that was probably the one exception, right? Best Buy carried some in inventory, so we've seen a handful there. Typically, Pac-Man, Mortal Kombat, the lackluster Casino Cade, and Big Buck Hunter. That's basically it. You didn't see really many of the other cabs there, but they have the kiosk where you could go through and pick. But almost every cab that Arcade1up offers, with the few exceptions mentioned earlier. You take that slip up to the counter, you purchase it, and then Cokem ships it directly to your house. So Best Buy doesn't have to keep any of that stuff in inventory. But we heard from the Cornercade and PD7 that those kiosks at Best Buy have been or are currently being removed. So that's a significant shift from this model that Alliance here is bragging about. Hey, we do these direct to consumer. Now, Best Buy is still going to be doing the direct consumer, it looks like, through their website. But when it comes to in-store direct to consumer, doesn't look that way, which makes you wonder, if Best Buy stops carrying any in-stock inventory in stores, how are you going to get that impulse purchase? How is somebody going to walk up, see that cab, and go, "Oh, wow, that's really cool. I want one of those. I'm going to buy it." But let's continue. Let's talk about what Arcade1up has to say. And the entire Arcade1up team is thrilled to solidify our Alliance partnership. Alliance is reliable, and the staff is truly an extension of ours. We rely on the Alliance team to develop retail relationships and assist us with new opportunities. Alliance has the ability to service our entire fan base throughout North America, and they're positioned to help us grow. And most importantly, Alliance is flexible during our busy times, ensuring we are in stock for our customers, said Dora DeVere, CEO of Tastemakers. We have overcome a lot of challenges recently, and as we improved our supply chain, we were able to rely on Alliance to be part of the solution. We have finally found a partner that allows us to focus and do what we love, make video games. This is interesting because we also know from the ThinkUp lawsuit that Arcade1up doesn't actually make video games, right? Arcade1up had contracted with ThinkUp to design their products, do a lot of the development for the front end, the trademarks, the all kinds of aspects of marketing. They found the manufacturers and were responsible for making sure that things got manufactured, doing their appearances at various conferences. A lot of that was all handled by Cokem. Arcade1up's side of the deal was to find retail partners, secure licenses. And so here we are finding out that Arcade1up has relied on Alliance to find those retail partnerships. Now, they maybe previously had done it in-house, but they've been working with essentially Alliance and Spreetail to do that part of the business. So what exactly was Arcade1up bringing to the table? They were sitting as a middleman between ThinkUp, who's doing all the product development, all the marketing, and Cokem, who's doing all the retail and getting the things in stores. So really Arcade1up's secret sauce, I guess, is just acquiring licenses. And as you know, John D, their head license guy, the guy that's worked in licensing for a few decades, that has worked with Capcom on licensing, has made all the connections in all these different industries, was ousted along with the CEO, Scott Bacharach, last year. So without him, how are they acquiring new licensing? And we're hearing rumors that they are having issues with at least one licensor. Who knows if that's threatening future games or already has? There's also been rumors for well over a year that One Up owes a significant amount of money to one of their debt investors. So there's questions there about their cash flow. So what went on here with Alliance? Why did they sign this exclusive agreement with this company? Well, some people might be thinking that this is driven by Arcade1up. We know that their relationship with Spreetail and Shop Hippo arose because the CEO and founder of Arcade1up, Scott Bacharach, was good friends with the CEO and owner of Shop Hippo and Spreetail. That's how that relationship came to be, from what we understand from various rumors on other channels. So with Scott Bacharach ousted, did Spreetail and Shop Hippo, that relationship sour, and basically they just stuck around to fulfill their agreement with Arcade1up and then kind of fade out or leave the space. That might be tempting to hypothesize, I guess. um, but I think what you're going to find here is that's actually probably not the case. As we take a look at a presentation from within Alliance Entertainment, their investors, their venture capital investors, talk about the business as a whole. We see here some of the investors, they talk about what they ship here, which Alliance Entertainment stocks: music, movies, video games, gaming hardware, arcades, collectibles, toys, and consumers. So they act as kind of a, distribution wholesaler for a whole host of entertainment related products. And then they work with those retail partners. And they're a trusted distributor of Disney, Paramount, Sony, Warner, all kinds of people, including Arcade1up. They work with Walmart, Amazon, Best Buy, Costco, Target, Kohl's, BJ's, Barnes and Noble, and 2,000 other brands. And here is the key: they are the exclusive physical distributor of music and video through Amped, distribution video divisions, growing blah, 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 continued growth through acquisition to expand selection, gain market share, entering into new markets, continued diversification, exclusive video licensing through Mill Creek, video content license from Disney, Sony, blah, blah, blah. Here's kind of a layout of how the company operates, right? Direct to consumer. So they do here's their 600 vendors that they get product from. They set up their stuff. They go to the retailer. The retailer lists those items on their storefronts. You see here over 35,000 storefronts. And then those storefronts sell to consumers, and Alliance Entertainment drop ships the item from their warehouse to you. We can go through some of these sales. But this is one of the big things. Again, they rely on exclusive distribution. Our exclusive distribution is a big focus and a huge growth opportunity for Alliance Entertainment. Studios and labels which have moved to distribution solutions, Amped and Mill Creek divisions, see increases in sales because of the industry's largest customer base, including retailers, website filled with Alliance, blah, blah, blah. So here we're seeing that Alliance's overall business strategy is to become exclusive distributors of the products they sell. That gives them bargaining position in a myriad of ways. So now they don't have to compete with Spreetail and Spreetail vendors, right? They get to set the price, control stability of the pricing, reduce the discounts that are being offered to companies. They get to reduce the risk that retailers are taking on by keeping inventory in stock. They take on that in exchange for that exclusivity, and keeps you locked in. And because they're exclusive to many, many brands, it gives an incentive to these retailers to work with Alliance because by one going to one vendor, you get access to all these different products. You don't have to negotiate all these separate agreements and all this other stuff. And so that's Alliance's overall strategy. So what we see with this agreement with Arcade1up is Alliance really just continuing their business strategy moving forward. We talked, I think it was around January of last year, how Alliance had significant amounts of Arcade1up inventory left in stock. This, I think, is you're going to see where the bumpy years of Arcade1up started happening. People were just ordering too many, keeping too many things. And they bragged in January, Alliance did, about their ability. They were stuck with $50 million in Arcade1up inventory. They reduced that down to 17 million. And in uh, essentially in that calendar year 2023, they sold an additional 20 million. So they were sitting in there around that 50 million in sales for calendar year 2023. The 74 million number is their fiscal year 2024 or ending in June 2024. So we're still waiting for the full annual report for this 2024, but we can get some insight from their annual report last year. It says the residual effects of COVID-19 pandemic will continue directly or indirectly impact our business and the results of operations and financial impact, including expenses and employee related costs, but are highly dependent on future developments that are uncertain at this time. While we maintained uninterrupted operations during the pandemic, macroeconomic conditions and supply chain disruptions resulted in downstream shocks. The most pronounced consequences were the exorbitant international shipping costs for arcades. So here they're saying the number one impact during COVID to their operations was Arcade1up's supply chain distribution, shipping from China to the US. The incremental marketing and development funds in the form of customer rebates recorded during year-end 2023. The disruption in the transportation industry resulted in higher landed costs of $8.2 million write-down was recorded for units sold, 7.1 million write-down for gaming arcade units on hand. So that's the stuff that they have in inventory. And in addition, customer rebates of approximately 12.2 million were incurred to spur demand for arcades. So you can see essentially it took them an investment of $27 million in their fiscal year 23. That was their expense related to selling home arcades. So they probably didn't actually make a dime as a result of that. And in addition to that 27 million, it says there finally approximately 4.6 million of incremental storage costs was recognized to warehouse excess arcade inventory. So now you're up to a loss of $31 million for fiscal year 2023 for Arcade1up. So you can see why they were bragging to their investors that, hey, we reduced that inventory from 50 million down to 17. We're doing a better job of managing our inventory because Arcade1up was causing them to hemorrhage cash. So while they were bragging about the overall sales, they were getting crushed by that expense. So, does this exclusive inventory allow them to reduce the incentives? Does it allow them to stabilize cost and by keeping the inventory out of store shelves and online, they can better protect against these companies just blowing them out, dropping them to $200 blowout prices and harming the overall consumer value impression of Arcade1up. We've seen the impact of those blowouts. We see consumers look at a $500 cab and say, it's not worth it. It'll be $300 in 2 months. Let's just wait. That had to hurt sales. We're coming out of that. We've seen over the last year far less discounts unless they're truly closeout, like just Arcade1up getting rid of the last bit of inventory on a particular one. But for the most part, those discounts have been hard to come by. And this may be a result of why that is. I think we've kind of opined by that before, but here it is in writing specifically saying, hey, we did 50 million in sales, but it also cost us 30 million in fiscal year for these Arcade1up arcade machines. So overall, what is the direction of Arcade1up? It seems to still be all over the place. They're relying heavily and now exclusively on retail partners through Cokem. So forget any true um, Kickstarter type thing. I just don't think you're going to see it. Even though Cokem does direct to consumers, they still do that through retail partner storefronts. So could Arcade1up add to their own storefront some exclusive cab that they just use Cokem to distribute? It's possible. However, they could have done that from the beginning and they never really did. And so I don't think you're gonna see suddenly a change in direction. I think you're gonna see worse. I think you're gonna see a focus on cheaper production, if anything, and these multicades, their further reliance on what the retailers are asking for, even though they don't have to carry it in store. Now, maybe this makes them more apt to agree to carry some of the more niche games, the stuff that we demand that maybe don't have as popular thing. But I think if that were the case, we'd already have seen that because they already have this relationship and have had this relationship with partners where they like Target, Kohl's, and where they're not stocking them in the store and Cokem is direct shipping them. They've had that opportunity for years and haven't taken advantage of it. So I don't think this news means much of anything other than I think it's the exact opposite of what people are hoping for. I think the idea is that some of the most interesting cabs we've gotten in the last few years are Time Crisis, the re-release of Star Wars. Those were all exclusive through Shop Hippo and Spreetail. Like, are you going to be able to get those cool cabs anymore? I don't know. Are they going to suddenly start showing up at Kokem? Questionable. You can already see on Amazon website, Spreetail is blowing out the last of their inventory. Now they haven't discounted anything yet, but on Amazon, you can always see how much something has. And Spreetail is, I think, down to only the HS5 that they're selling on there. I couldn't find any others other than a stool. It's possible they still have some other cabs that they're selling the rest out through Amazon, but there's only 19 as of the recording of this video left in stock. They sold and shipped directly from Spreetail, so Amazon doesn't keep them in stock. The other cabs that Amazon has listed also used to be Spreetail. Now they all say shipped and sold directly by Amazon, which implies they have all switched over to Kokem already. And that also includes a Time Crisis. So that may answer the one question I said right there is that Time Crisis seems to be shipping through Kokem now through Amazon, but that's neither here nor there. But so it's interesting. All in all, I think a lot of people want to be optimistic and think this mean we might get some of those more niche cabs. I don't think that's the case. I think the track record has proven that is not the business model that Arcade1up wants. It's not the business model that Alliance looks at. So, what I think this move makes is more cost cutting from Arcade1up. It's more evidence like the ads on their website, the reduction on the Slim Katie ad, the pandering with the multicade, that Arcade1up is cash strapped. They're looking at any way to gain additional revenue and incentives from their partners, in this case, Cokem. So Cokem likely made it pretty pretty enticing for Arcade1up, either based on the supply chain comments that Arcade1up made. They funded some production of cabs. Like maybe Arcade1up is so cash strapped right now that they couldn't even make production for the Costco run, and maybe Alliance funded that. I have no idea. That's commonplace. We know how Arcade1up started was Walmart gave them a cash advance to go produce their first cabs. That's how they were able to fund that production. And so maybe they find themselves back in this startup mentality. Even though they're doing 100 million in sales, they've managed cash flow so poorly that maybe they had to go back to their wholesaler and say, we need you to front us money to produce these new products, or we're just not going to be able to get anything out there. And then Alliance said, fine, if we're going to do that, we'll do it, because you're our largest um, brand, and I should point that out, I didn't cover that specifically, but the video game sales is 39% of Alliance Entertainment's entire revenue stream, with the vast majority of that clearly being Arcade1up. So, they have an incentive to keep Arcade1up afloat and keep them going, and so perhaps they said, "Look, we'll front you the cash to produce these new products. In exchange, you got to sign an exclusive agreement with us." And I think that's probably what happened. Again, just my opinion based on the information I see. How do you do 100 million in sales? How do you do such large numbers and have so much cash issues that you're so willing to harm your own brand with some of the decision you're making? Um, it is strange and just draws all kinds of questions. So, what do you think, guys? You've reached the end of the video. Do you believe this is a good sign for Arcade1up, or more evidence the company is struggling to stay in business and to stay afloat? So, again, thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you've liked it, hit the like button. I'd really appreciate it. I can't thank you enough. And go ahead and subscribe. If you don't, I'm going to delete all your high scores. And until next time, have fun.